Hey there folks, and welcome to Truck King. Well, the winter has arrived here in southern Ontario, which means that Christmas is coming, the new year is coming, and we're getting ready to announce our truck of the year. And in this video, we're gonna really dive deep into this truck, the redesigned Ford F-150. Before we dive into the details, I just want to do a quick recap because this F-150 was redesigned for the 2024 model year, so technically it should have qualified last year for Truck of the Year, but it's all about timing. We didn't actually get any seat time in this truck until around this past summer. Same thing with the Ford Ranger, same thing with the hybrid Tacoma, so that's the reason why this is being considered this year. And actually, Dad, we've tested tons of F-150s here on the channel this year, from base models right up to the Platinum, right up to the insane Raptor R. So we got a really nice cross-section of F-150s to really get a feel for this redesign. And now I'll kick it over to you. Sort of what's the big thing that stands out to you about this redesigned F-150?
Well, in this particular instance, the fact that not a lot of things have changed is actually a plus with this truck, particularly when you look at the competition and see some of the issues that Ram is having, that Tundra is having, because of course they had some major changes. This truck, on the other hand, is done with those for the time being. If anything, they're looking at existing systems, such as that new split tailgate, and making minor improvements. So we always have a tendency, we meaning by buyers, to be a little hesitant when there's like a big, like an engine change or a big transmission change or some other running gear that we're like, well, you know what? What's the proverbial advice? Never buy it in the first year. That's really sort of showing up right now. So with this F-150, everything we want to talk about, the engines, the running gear, other than some of the cosmetic stuff and things like that tailgate, it's all the same. And you know what? I think buyers appreciate that right now.
Yeah, I will absolutely agree with you. And then even to take it one step further, the engine lineup here is already so diverse. You have, the 2 turbocharged EcoBoost. You still have the 5-liter V8. Ford hasn't moved away from the V8 yet. And you have the hybrid option. So they really do have a nice cross sections of engines too. So yeah, don't mess with that. It's working. And that's obviously what Ford thinks as well. So you brought up the tailgate, Dad. Let's jump into that, because that is one of the bigger changes here, is they have this new split tailgate. And it's a different take, once again, on the tailgate. Ram sort of went the split right down the middle. GM has its unique tailgate. And then Ford has done sort of a little door in the middle of the tailgate. Honestly, we've used it a couple times now, and I do think it is hyper specific to towing. That's really what they were focused on, is the fact that when you have a trailer on with a traditional tailgate, you can't drop it, so you can't access your bed. With this tailgate, you can open up just a little bit, get right up to the bumper, and jump into your bed, even with the trailer on. So from that perspective, I do think it is super useful for people who tow. Outside of that though, yeah, I'm not sure how useful it is, sort of just in everyday common use. I used it to load my Christmas tree into, and sure, I was able to get sort of 2 feet closer into the truck. Does that matter to most people? I don't know. So I guess my take on it is, it's not the best tailgate on the market, but it is probably the best tailgate for people who tow regularly.
I think if you have it and you have a tonneau cover, the simple fact that that door opens to the center like that allows you to get more stuff into it. And the reason I'm thinking in this direction is that, of course, we know today, the majority of trucks are crew cabs. Crew cabs because guys are buying one vehicle and they got the whole family in there. You don't have room for other stuff when you got the kids, the wife, and the dog inside the cab. So easier access to your bed, particularly with a tonneau cover on top of it. Yeah, man, that's your trunk.
Makes it like a trunk, yeah.
Over and above, kind of like what you were doing with your tree, right? Get all your kids in there, as you well know, okay? And you got a ton of crap that you got to haul with you. I know your last one's finally out of diapers, but you know what I mean. So I think it's useful from the point of view that once you get it, you're suddenly going to go, man, this is a lot easier to deal with, even if it's just to pick up groceries and have somewhere to get them into the bed without having to lean over a tailgate.
Right. Just one last unfortunate thing, though, I do have to mention, you can't get the bed step with that tailgate. And I do love that Ford bed step. That's a classic feature, so there is a bit of give and take there. You got to give up your step if you want it.
Yeah, and it's just a design feature. We get that, and that's why we probably shouldn't say it, but I still like the GM tailgate better.
I agree. So another thing that did change here was the trim levels and sort of the packaging, because over the last, I would say 2 years now, Dad, Ford has really made it their priority to simplify the lineup. I think they recognize that they just had too many options. The Raptor specifically went from, it was like you could get it in over 50 configurations. They've now dropped that number to 8. There's only 8 different ways you can get that truck, which I think from a manufacturing point of view makes more sense for them. And everybody just suffered through COVID and having, trouble building trucks. So I think that sort of directed them to say, let's simplify this so we can churn these things out without having to wait for one little part here or there. So that's sort of part of the story here too, is just the fact that the packaging and what is available has changed. Now on the positive end, the lower trim trucks have more content now. The base truck really doesn't feel base anymore because you're getting so many features built in. On the negative side, of course, the price went up. So that's the bad part is, we're getting more, sure, but you're also paying more for it. That's basically the case across the board. There's nobody who's been really chopping prices, save for Ram, but they're in a bit of a different situation. But yes, the price here has gone up. And you know what? We might as well just jump right up to the top end, because if you are ready to pay ridiculous prices, I'm talking over $150,000. You can also get a ridiculous off-road truck from Ford, and that is the Raptor R. We had a chance to take a Raptor R up to Northern Ontario and really run it on some awesome trails, a big sand pit up there, up the rocks. And what can you say about that thing? I think more so than I think any other off-road truck, it feels like a toy. It feels like a pure, fun super truck. It feels like really a cut above everything else that's out there, wouldn't you say?
I would say it is, at that price, it is a toy that only certain few are going to be able to afford.
Of course.
However, you can watch us having fun with it, because we don't own it, on YouTube. Other than that, yeah, you know what? It's a daily driver? Nah.
But when it comes to off-road trucks, leave it to Ford to make it feel truly special, because that Raptor R doesn't feel like a stock F-150 at all. So yes, like I said, the price is ridiculous, but for those who can afford it, that thing, I honestly think is one of the most fun off-road trucks out there.
Yep.
The next interesting point I want to bring up about 2024 F-150 is the fact that the tow rating here actually went down. Ford previously claimed that the F-150 had a max tow of 14,000 pounds. Now granted, that's going to be a very rare trim, probably two-wheel drive and the base model, because you need, the payload, the max tow package. Anyways, though, that's besides the point. Max towing was 14,000, and then when this truck came out, they dropped it to 13,500. And I think that's notable because it's the first time I can remember that a new half-ton came out that tows less than the truck it replaces. And to me, that is Ford signaling to the industry that that's as high as they're going to go. They're not going to push past there. I certainly agree with that. I don't think you should be towing 14,000 pounds on a half-ton. Even 13.5 is a crazy amount of weight. But I just think that we should take note of that because, like I said, I think that's basically Ford saying, here's the line. We have found it for a half-ton. We're not going to go beyond there. And even if they could, technically go beyond there, then they're going to cut into Super Duty sales, and they don't want to do that either. So I think we have finally found the line on where these trucks are going to top out at towing, around 13,000 pounds.
No, I agree. And the reality is that there's been a pissing match going on between the Detroit builders for years now. And the truth is that in any pissing match, everybody gets wet. It got to the point where the new tow ratings came out and you just had to laugh at them, because if you've towed, you just knew that you weren't doing those kind of weights on a half-ton.
Right. And actually the majority of these trucks, like this one as it sits right here, crew cab, short bed, 3.5 EcoBoost, this truck will do about 11,000 pounds. And that's really probably the sweet spot where that number should be. So it's just those max
That's
tows.
the maximum. I wouldn't want any more than 10 on anything other than an HD.
Fair enough. So that was an interesting point to see. And I think that my last point I want to make, we brought it up earlier, is, incremental change. They didn't do huge things here because they just didn't really have to. This truck was quite good before. It's comfortable to drive. It's quiet. You get four-wheel drive auto, so you really get a solid four-wheel drive system. The drive modes are there. I think the seats in the F-150 are easily the best seats in any truck today. These things are so nice. So with all that in mind, yeah, it's good that they didn't come along and, you know, do a clean sheet design. That's sort of my overall take on it.
Well, and you're right. And what I just want viewers to consider, because I've always thought of it this way, we get a chance to talk to a lot of engineers. And the reality is that they're not always building a new truck, okay? And those guys go to work 5 days a week, every day. And if they're not building a new engine or a new suspension or a new tranny or a drive mode, what they're doing is they're looking at existing systems and improving on them. Okay, they're taking the things that have always been there and taking them back apart again and go, what can we do to make this a little bit better? Which is the best place to be in the life cycle of a truck. When all those engineers are going to work every day and going, we're not building something new and wild, we're just going to keep making what we got better. And that's where we're at today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and that's what makes this F-150 such a strong contender for our truck of the year.
Yeah,
so folks,
man.
I think that's it for this one. Of course, we need to hear from you. Drop into the comments and let us know what you think of this Ford F-150. We are going to announce our truck of the year very early on in January, so make sure you come back for that video. And as always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see who we crown as the winner.
Thanks, everybody.